Welcome everybody to Living It Together, real family life with type 1 diabetes. Tonight is all about connection and honesty as we share the real stories behind family life with type 1 diabetes. You'll also hear personal insights and tips from our panel, people who live with or support someone with diabetes every day. I'm Anna Richardson. I'm a broadcaster, journalist and passionate advocate for great health and well-being. I've spent a lot of my career helping people to feel informed and in control of their choices. So tonight's topic is one that I care about deeply. I am joined tonight by 4 incredible people, each bringing their own lived experience on life with type 1 diabetes. We have Professor Deborah Christie, a clinical psychologist and grandparent to a teenager living with type 1. She spent her career helping families navigate the emotional side of diabetes care. We also have Mary Murphy, entrepreneur, researcher, advocate and someone who lives with type 1 herself while supporting her teenage son through it too. Who is Johnny Murphy, who turned 16 today, woohoo! He's a footballer, tech enthusiast and proud early adopter who's been living with type 1 since childhood. And finally, we have Duke Al, poet, performer, CrossFit enthusiast, you should see him, and advocate. He uses creativity to open up conversations and build confidence, especially for young people navigating their identity and care. Over the next hour, we'll explore 3 big themes. First, the emotional and invisible work that goes into daily diabetes care. Then, how families keep joy and spontaneity in their lives. And finally, what happens when care is shared and how tech can help make that easier. And if you have a question during the event, please have some questions. We're right here for you. You can send it in using the tab on the right-hand side of your screen. We'll do our very best to answer as many as we can during the Q&A at the end of the session. And just a quick reminder, we can't answer individual medical or product-specific questions, and we ask that obviously everybody keeps things respectful and supportive in the chat. Thank you. So, let's start with the part that doesn't always get talked about. Behind every care routine, every scan, every set change, every packed lunch, there's a whole world of quiet decisions and small wins that most people never see. So, Deborah, with that in mind, I'm going to come to you first of all. You've worked with loads of families that are living with diabetes for years now, and now you're also living this as a grandparent. So just describe the emotional load, as an expert psychologist, the emotional load that families carry that often goes unspoken.
So I think the thing that is really exhausting for me, speaking as a psychologist, is the way that people often feel that they're not seen as individuals.
They're just seen as type 1, you mean? That they've
Yeah,
got a
and we
problem.
even use that as a descriptor. We say somebody is a type 1 rather than saying somebody's living with diabetes. Because diabetes is just one little part of your life, and we've heard everybody here describe all the amazing things that they do as well as living with diabetes. But the emotional side of it is the frustration and the crossness and the anger and the boredom of the repetitiveness and all of these different things, and then not always knowing what the answer is. So something's maybe going wrong or something's not right and you need an answer, and there's nobody there to give you that answer, and you can try phoning up and you might not get you phone your healthcare team and the healthcare team aren't there. The person who's supposed to be there to give you the answer is on holiday, and there's that feeling of, what am I going to do to make this right? How can I fix it? So if you're a mum particularly, and Mary will hear from an actual mum will how do I get this right? Do I have to know the answers? Do I have to do it all myself? And that's it's exhausting.
So you're hearing that a lot then from the families that you work with, that actually this is just exhausting and I'm not getting the answers often that I need.
I think it's one of the most burdensome conditions that I've ever worked with.
Really?
Yeah, I mean, all of the different chronic illness conditions that there are, I think there's something just sapping about diabetes. It robs you of spontaneity. I mean, those, we have to make decisions every single day, but sometimes if we decide we just want to do something, we just get up and we go and do it. Not if you have to remember to pick up your pack and make sure that you've got your insulin, and then you've done your counting of this, and you've done your counting of that, and there's always this lack of spontaneity.
This is it, which we are going to be coming on to actually. But you did mention, Mary, as a mum, you are a parent living with type 1 yourself. What does that emotional load look like in your world that Deborah's just been mentioning?
It can sometimes feel like a lot, I don't always have the words to articulate what they are, because sometimes they're mixed up in worry or in frustration, or because a lot of the things that I find challenging aren't actually about the type 1 diabetes itself. It's about keeping the cogs all moving. And so there's frustration when things don't work, or if I've forgotten something, or we're all human, and how that feels is very human. And so I feel it.
It's interesting that you've said that word twice now, which is frustration. I think you mentioned it, you've said it twice, frustration, which I hadn't really considered with type 1 diabetes as well, but it's interesting that you've said that. Is there anything, Mary, that others wouldn't notice, but that really shapes your day? I mean, you've talked about the frustration of forgetting things and keeping the cogs working. What do you mean?
So it's kind of connected, because with frustrations and things, you try to control what you can control, and we hate the word control. And so to try and control things, for me in our house, it's always starting the day, the morning well. So if you get a good run at the morning, I get up early. I'll get up at 5 a.m. to get ahead of the day, to look at both of our blood sugars overnight to see if I need to change anything, because Johnny will get up about 7:15, and you've got time to change things. You've got time to look and think, feel and change it. And so that's the one little thing.
But I'm just thinking that must also be really exhausting, Mary. If you're up at 5 to check things, that's exhausting.
I think, and you might not, your nights aren't your own nights either, because you can have sensors, alarms going off, and lows depending on what you've been doing in the day. You're always trying your best, but there's mornings Johnny's going into school exhausted because he's had multiple hypos. There's mornings I'm going in and I'm exhausted because both of us have had hypos during the night, or hypers. They're even harder sometimes because they're so hard to get down, and then but you still get up in the morning.
Obviously, you've been referring to Johnny throughout this, and having multiple hypos or hypers. So, Johnny, you've grown up with all of this being part of your everyday life, and you knew when you were very little that there was something not right. What are the things that you do that people around you might not even realise take effort for you? I mean, your mum's highlighted some of them, but for you specifically, what are the things?
I think one of the big ones that I see a lot myself is making sure that even as simple as my phone's charged for the next morning.
Yeah.
Because sometimes I go into school and people are complaining that, oh, I left my phone off charge and now I don't have my phone today. What am I going to do? I can't have that happen. It's part of my life. It's like an extra organ for me. I need that to live, and so I can never forget it. And that's another recurring thing, is you can't forget. You always have to be on top of your game. I always have to make sure that I'm bolusing correctly, that I'm tracking my blood sugars properly, and that most importantly, I don't forget anything.
I mean, that's a huge pressure for you, Johnny. I mean, you've just turned 16, but the fact that, you know, we all don't charge our phones, like, oh God, you know, my phone's not charged. But as you said, for you, that's a real life-saving device. So that's a lot of pressure for you. Do you feel that?
Yeah, I do. I feel like, especially in really high pressure situations, it can get really overwhelming, like during exams and things like that.
Yeah.
They're really stressful, because if I do one thing wrong, that even though I'm prepared for the exam, but I mess up my bolus for my breakfast, even by 10 minutes, and now my bloods are a bit higher than normal going into the exam, and it messes with everything.
Wow, God, especially with exams, I can imagine, actually. So thank you for that, Johnny. Duke, if I come to you, type 1 became part of your life very suddenly. So what happened? Just fill us in with that.
Yeah, so I was actually out in Thailand / Bali, and basically, cut a very long story short, I went into a restaurant, picked up a shrimp, tasted horrendous, got salmonella, which turned sepsis, turned septic, and then very, very quickly got diagnosed with type 1 diabetes. Well, about a year later I got diagnosed with type 1 diabetes, but they believe that was the initial trigger, and then stress was the second trigger.
That is extraordinary. I've never heard of such a thing.
Yeah.
So basically the
quite
shock
interesting.
and the stress then brought on type 1 diabetes.
Yeah, I think so.
And how did you have to adapt in your life?
Yeah, I mean, when I first got diagnosed, I was very much like, oh, just take it on the chin and try and crack on with life, and, you know, try and be positive about it. So I always say, like, I accepted it for the first about 2 weeks, and then I very quickly went into, you know, frustration, that word again. I was
Yeah.
frustrated because I was 23, you know, I was decent at sport, you know, I was playing rugby a lot, for example, and I just kept thinking in my head, am I ever going to be the strongest version of myself now? Because perhaps I'm now a little bit weaker than I was before. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
So that was the frustration side of it, which then turned into a bit of anger and a bit like, oh, I'm really annoyed about this. This is such a change to my life, because it is. It's, you know, I inject about 12, 13 times a day. You know, this is a lot of injections a day. And then I went in complete self-destruct mode for about a year, just very much not enjoying living with the condition. And
I was going to say, and
Yeah.
obviously, Deborah, this is something that you would understand hugely as a psychologist, that, you know, so the shock of being diagnosed with that, and then the spiral that you've been down.
yeah.
It's extraordinary. Thank you everybody for that, and thank you for sharing so honestly as well. It is a powerful reminder that what we see from the outside often sits on top of a whole layer of care and thought that's going on the inside, and for many, many families, it's those quiet wins that really, really shape the day. To bring in another real life perspective, let's hear from Matt, who is dad to 8-year-old Emmy, who lives with type 1. He shares how they manage everyday routines like dinner prep at home, and how having the right tools in place can quietly support both confidence and care.
One of the things that we tend to do, and we only do this at home really, is obviously with any child around Emmy's age, sometimes eating dinner times, you're maybe not sure what they're going to fully eat on their plate. So often when we're giving insulin, we bolus up front, we would only give her for a main meal, and not give her not give a lot for what she's going to have as a kind of a pudding or dessert after. So that way we do give her 2 boluses. That way if she doesn't eat a full meal, we can then give her a bolus for her dessert after, and then reduce the amount we're giving to try and top it up. Now Emmy's been diagnosed with type 1 for quite a long time. We try to not let anything ever hold her back. She kind of does everything any other child does. But in the early days, we were like petrified to even go on holiday. We took baby steps initially, just doing some holidays or just even nights away inside the UK. And to now, like last year we were lucky enough to go to Florida in America, and we've kind of just understood ultimately prepare, take enough supplies, and it is no different to being at home. Yes, different climates will be different, but in reality, every day is different for type 1 anyway. So ultimately, it's just about being fully prepared and not letting anything get in the way. Using the Freestyle Libre 3 and with My Life Loop has completely changed the way that we do treatments or care for Emmy's type 1 diabetes. To combine the tech together is it's like a helper. Rather than the decision-making process being 100% on us as the parents, it's doing a lot of it itself. So we don't see as such a high spikes or such low hypos because the system taking readings every minute, making decisions every minute based on those readings. It's just doing a lot of the work for us.
What stood out there was just how much thinking goes into preparing for a meal, checking and planning, making sure that everything's in place. So does that resonate with all of you here, just that absolute sort of very precise prep?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Look at you, you're like, nah, not so much, but it does for you, Mary.
Yeah, well, we try to, because like we just try our best, don't we? Like, so like sometimes you can do it really well, and sometimes life is busy and
life gets in the way.
And it's exhausting. And if you go out, I remember when our very first meal out, when Xander was diagnosed.
This is your grandson?
My grandson, yeah. And we got to the restaurant and got a pair of scales out and put them on the table, and I went into the kitchen and went through all of the labels and everything and came back with a list of all, and he just sat there like this in complete embarrassment and despair. Don't do it anymore. But it was that, because the message was, you've got to get it right, got to get it right, got to get it right. And that's exhausting, constantly to have to get it right.
Exactly. So we've covered the frustration, we've covered the exhaustion of it. But now let's turn to the joy as well that can be found in everyday life. So living with type 1 isn't just about managing a condition. And as you rightly said, it's not who you are, it's just part of who you are. It's still about fun, it's still about freedom, it's still about being able to say yes in the moments that matter in life. So Mary, just tell us how you and Johnny find ways to make life work on your terms and to find that joy.
We just say yes.
Do you?
Yeah, because there's and I think it's something lovely that we have in our family, because we both have it, that like there's no misunderstanding. It's like we both know we'll just work it out. So it's just working out what we want to do and then working out how to do it. Like eating pizza. Like you have to work a way to how to eat pizza when you've got type 1, because it's tricky, and you just work it out.
But I love that you're saying, you know, one of the things I love about our family is that we find a way. So Johnny, can you think of a moment where you nearly didn't go to something, like either a match or a trip or something like that, but then you found a way to make it happen?
Yeah, I really like sports, and I started playing rugby when I went to secondary school, and I really enjoyed playing rugby, but it was quite difficult because it's a very physical sport, and with all the tech that I wear, it's quite difficult. Like there could be issues with pieces of tech failing or like being dislodged from my body, and it was really, really bad because I couldn't reliably keep my bloods right when I was playing, and that was affecting not only the way I play but how I feel after I play, and so my whole day would be ruined, and it was really bad. And so I ended up giving up rugby, which is something I don't like doing because of my diabetes, because it makes me feel less in control of myself. So I decided to pick up football, which is less of a contact sport. And it's been really great so far. I really love it. I've been doing it for about a year now, and it's just been completely positive. Everything's been so great, and I really love it.
That is fantastic. So actually you have found something that you're passionate about that, you know, doesn't get in the way of who you are and your diabetes control, which is absolutely brilliant. I mean, again, Duke, fitness is a massive part of your life. I mean, you know, you're an incredibly buff guy. I know I've said that twice now. I do apologise. How have you kept sport fun and manageable with your type 1?
I don't know about being buff, but
It's like that's quite a middle-aged thing to say. So you're very.
I think it's because I'm sucking in.
But how? Because you're very into your fitness as well, like Johnny. So how do you manage that?
Yeah, I mean, exercise has always been extremely important to me before I got diagnosed with type 1 anyway. And then, as I said earlier, when I got diagnosed with type 1, I was worried I'd never be able to be, reach my full physical potential. And then, as I came back to acceptance again, I was like, do you know what? Of course I can. I can manage this condition, and I'm still gonna go out and trying to achieve those, trying to achieve the things I wanted to with my body. For example, I'd like to climb mountains. So like last year I climbed Mount Toubkal, which is the highest peak in North Africa.
Did you really?
Which was amazing, and I was able to manage my type 1 diabetes while doing that. So it doesn't stop you.
Incredible. I mean, tell us a little bit more about that. How did you manage your type 1 while you were climbing this mountain?
Yeah. Well, I did sort of a prep climb before just to see how I would go because, it's like a 48-hour challenge. Which I'm really glad I did the prep because there's something called Pen y Fan, which is in South Wales, which is a small, they call it a hill, doesn't quite make a mountain, but you can climb it 10 times, so it's called Pen y Fan, so it's a 24-hour challenge. So I attempted that and only got to 6. It's the first time my type 1 diabetes has ever stopped me from doing something. And basically what happened was I should have lowered my background insulin beforehand, which I didn't. So doing that made me realise that I needed to lower the background to then be able to do the mountain, if that makes sense.
So basically, just again, it's prep, isn't it? Just means you're able to do exactly what it is you want to do as long as you're prepped for it.
Yeah.
Like climbing mountains, it's fabulous. And Deborah, from a psychological perspective, why is it important to keep that joy and connection for families and people living with type 1?
So joy is one of the best things you can do for your body. It's good for your physical health and it's good for your mental health. It's good for your immune system. It's good for things like improving your mood and reducing anxiety. People who are joyful and actively look for joy tend to be more successful, both personally and professionally.
And is it the same as having a positive mindset,
No,
or is it slightly different?
It's slightly different. I mean, depending on how you define joy. I mean, joy is a state of being. So joy is a state of happiness and comfort and just pleasure. I mean, it's joyful to look at that, beautiful plant up there, and to be here is a joyful thing for me, to be sharing and meeting people like Mary and Johnny and Duke and you, obviously.
I'm glad you said that.
I don't want to leave you out because that would have been sad. But yeah, so joy is super important. It often gets confused a little bit with sort of the ideas of gratitude, but gratitude is a great way of being joyful. That's one of the ways of getting
a
joy.
So can joy be something that we can all learn?
You can learn to be joyful, yes. I mean, so I have to say, if I was working with somebody like Johnny and I said to him, well, one of the really cool things to do would be to write down 3 really things you're cool about gratitude for, that he'd probably say, thanks, but no thanks. I'm off to play on my computer.
Or play footy.
But if you can, as a family, for example, find ways to be grateful for tiny little things, just small things, and you can find fun ways to do it, like having a jar and everybody puts a little post-it note in it. And then at the end of the week, everybody pulls something out and sees what they're... And because we often forget that there's always something to be grateful for. There's always something that we can find that makes us feel positive.
We do a little thing like that, like at home. So we
have
this thing called, it's your happy number. and like after we do things, it's like, so what's your happy number? What? And it can be 8, it can be 7, it can be 9.
Is there a scale? Is it out of 10?
Yeah, 1 to 10.
Oh, your happy number.
A happy number.
Yeah.
Where's your happy number right now, Johnny? It's your birthday.
It is.
I'm thinking...
I'm saying 9.5.
Thank you. Thank you very
That's
much.
impressive.
And are you going to be climbing a mountain anytime soon?
Probably not.
Leave that to you, Jake. We'll leave that one to you. Thank you very much, guys, for that. I've loved hearing how much you found ways to protect those moments and find the joy actually in your lives. And thank you for that tip as well about you can do it. In this next clip, we go back to Matt, Emmy's dad. And what's lovely here is that Emmy describes managing her diabetes as easy. And then we hear from Matt about all the quiet work and planning that goes behind it.
What do you like doing at school?
I like having my lunch. I like playing with my friends and Piggy.
Do you like going to parties, play dates?
Yes, and it's pretty easy. My mum just gives them information about it, and then my mum can just go home, relax and stuff.
Sometimes when we're doing activities with Emmy, things like birthday parties or other events which we know that when we get there, there's going to be a lot of food. We now believe the best way to do it is let Emmy enjoy herself. Let her enjoy herself, we deal with it after. So, for example, when we're at birthday parties, we'll make Emmy very aware that she can have cakes and biscuits, but maybe later on when the birthday cake comes out, she takes that home with her because otherwise she will be really high. So when you're at school or at your clubs without Mummy and Daddy, how do the people looking after you get on?
Actually, my coaches come down to get me for a sweet, or I go up to them and say I'm low and they check with my mum first.
Emmy doesn't let anything get in her way. Any activity that any child that she knows does, she wants to do and does do it all, and she's probably the loudest person there out of them all.
It's such a lovely moment, that, isn't it? So Emmy saying that it's easy, but there's so much care and support that actually is quietly happening around her. So Deborah, just give us a few more tips. You know, you are an experienced psychologist. Give us a few more tips when it comes to a mindset or a habit that can really help us to hold on to joy. What would you say? Asking for a friend.
I think if we're focusing about living with diabetes, it's about recognising that life's not all about diabetes. And for sure, the medical team wants you to have good control, and you want to have control that allows you to do what you want to do. I don't like the word good. I think that implies that if it's not, then it's bad. So it's about being able to do the things that you want to do, and not constantly thinking about it. And
Yeah.
I think I've probably learnt that even more as a grandma. I mean, it's been a really interesting journey going from psychologist knowing everything to now being a grandma and feeling it.
And then experiencing it.
Well,
exactly.
really feeling it now.
Yeah.
I used to know it here, and kind of now I know it here.
Yeah.
And so I think the mindset is about acknowledging that life can be very tricky, and there's no question that it's more challenging, but actually there are other things that you can do and focus on and think about, and not be diabetes all the time. There's other things in life that you can say yes to, and you can always say yes to something, and you can always find a way around it. Always.
I love that. So having the choice and saying, I'm going to say yes to this and I will always find a solution.
And acknowledging that the rest of it is not good.
Okay, well, thank you. Thank you very much indeed for that. Okay, well, what really stands out is that joy isn't something that just happens, as we've just been hearing from Deborah. It's something that we actually do. And often it's the quiet planning, it's the care behind the scenes, the confidence that we build together that gives people the freedom to say yes to the moments that matter. And as you say, you can always make it work. You can find a way. Which brings us to our final theme, sharing the care. Because diabetes management is rarely just a one-person job, we know that. Whether you're a parent, a partner, a friend, or a teenager figuring it out yourself, all that support makes a difference. When more people understand what's involved, when they know how to help or what tools to use, everybody feels more confident. So it's about building trust, setting boundaries, and finding ways to stay connected without hovering that hovering about. So, Johnny, let's just start with you again. As you've got older, how have you started to take more care of your own care?
I now do a lot of my physical work with diabetes around myself. I change all my sites for all my technology. I try and keep track of my own blood sugars as much as I can. But what's really helpful for me is being able to still have my mum watching over and just making sure that if something goes wrong, that I'm not alone and that someone knows what's happening. I think it's really important to me. It makes me feel a lot safer with my diabetes.
Absolutely. So, I mean, again, having that parent, having that person, you know, overseeing what's going on, you're learning effectively how to be an independent young man.
Yeah.
Effectively. That's amazing. And what kind of support from your family still feels helpful? I mean, you've said it's good to have mum there, but is there anything else that still feels helpful? And is there anything that's actually a bit annoying?
Not really. I don't think that things being annoying are bad. I think they're needed because the condition is, it's always there. It's always something I have to worry about, and it's hard to worry about it all the time. And I think someone else being there helps me manage my focus on it compared to whatever else I'm doing in my life. And I also think that having someone else who really understands is really helpful for planning things.
Of course.
Because doing really difficult things with diabetes can be challenging, but the little tiny things are the things that make it hard. It's the making sure that you have all of your technology with you that someone else might not understand, or if I forget, they probably would forget as well. But having someone who really understands is really helpful. It's a second set of eyes, really.
And so, I mean, listening to that, Mary, at what point did you realise that actually Johnny should be able to sort of do some of this himself and he needs to start learning?
It naturally happens, like once they go into second level education, like because they're away and they don't have anybody else in the school with eyes on them in primary school.
Yeah,
they
that's
do.
true. Yeah.
So you naturally had to become more independent then, and you took it on, like you took that bag of independence on and carried that. And what we have at home is, yes, I do look and I can see Johnny lets me see everything, but I don't look at it all the time, and it's done with respect and trust and no judgment, because I make choices that don't necessarily look like the best choices after the fact, just the same.
So give me an example of that. What do you mean by that?
Like forgetting to bolus. Like I have had type 1 for 27 years and I'll still forget to bolus. Like just because, not because I don't intend to, not because I don't want to do it. It is because I'm busy. Something's happened. The phone's gone. I'm watching telly. And it's just those natural human things that, like, where if I see that Johnny hasn't bolused, or if I'm checking that he's bolused, then it's not that, don't be so stupid.
Yeah.
It's like, have you done it? Because I forgot.
Did you, in allowing him to become more independent, and clearly Johnny wanted to, did you ever sort of like panic a little bit? Did you ever have those moments of, you know, is he going to be okay? Did you find yourself hovering about as a mum, being too much of a sort of needy parent?
Oh, all the time. I still am, like, but like, Johnny, you'll get messages going, are you okay? When I see his blood, his glucose levels, and I are you okay? And I get a, I'm okay, or a K back.
Oh, just a K. I love that, K.
Yeah.
I'm
That's
fine.
impressive that you get a response.
And I mean, do both of you, as a mother, as a grandmother, do you have to watch yourselves being the hovering sort of, you know, overseer?
I'm quite good at it because of the experience I've had professionally. So I can take myself out of grandmotherness into psychologist and go, I would tell somebody, not to do this, and so I managed to stop myself from doing it. However, my husband, who I don't think is watching, is useless. And
I think he's just sent in a question. It's funny you should say that, Deborah.
And he will say himself, he is constantly on the WhatsApp. Xander, what are you doing? Xander, have you done this? Xander, did you do bolus? Blah, blah, blah. And Xander is really nice to his granddad and sends back K. He ignores his mother. So that's where we are. So, yeah.
But that's kind of understandable too, like, because I think, John, because we both have it, I think maybe there's just that slight difference.
Yeah. And he tolerates his granddad, and he knows he won't get a fiver from him if he's not polite.
And did you have any of this when you were first diagnosed? Did you have your parents kind of like hovering over you, or your mates hovering over you, sort of going, have you done this? You know, I'm worried about you.
It's a very good question. Yeah, my mum's obviously very, very caring, and was like, oh, you make sure you got to check this and check that. In fact, love her, she used to cook for me just all the time to begin with.
Oh, did she?
Yeah, because I live with my partner, but she'd always cook for me and was like, oh, I think you should eat this. But yeah, she's just extremely caring. But my partner as well, very much. I think it's more of a caring thing than a like, are you doing this? Are you doing that?
But what I was going to say, was there ever a point with your other half where you're a bit like, look, I'm fine. It's okay. You don't need to keep worrying about me. I know what I'm doing.
I mean, perhaps there's been a few moments where I think people in general felt a bit too overprotective, maybe. But I don't take that as a negative. I'm like, oh, they just care for me. As long as you just say, listen, I'm okay. I really appreciate you caring for me, but I promise I'm okay. And that gives them a peace of mind as well. That's the way I approach it, really.
Well, one of the biggest questions that people living with diabetes face is, how do I explain this to somebody else? Now, you found a very powerful way to answer that through poetry. So rather than us discussing it and talking about it, why don't I now hand over to you and you can perform your poem, Bittersweet.
Yeah, amazing, yeah. So, this is just a very short little poem called Bittersweet. They say when life gives you lemons, make lemonade. Bitter, sweet. I think about this lemon phrase as I penetrate just below my belly button, waist height. The needle thin pierces into my skin. I self-medicate insulin so I do not waste away from DKA. Most days my mellow brain interrogates my pancreas. Why are you refusing to do your duty? Answer me. My hands are up. An understanding I may never gain, but to be alive in this life within 100 years since insulin was developed, hey, what are the chances? If I was going to get T1D, I guess it's good I got it now. It's easier to treat. Bitter, sweet.
That's amazing, Jude. Thank you. Here we are sort of talking about, diabetes, and people can find it very difficult to describe to somebody else, and yet you've just done that so beautifully with a poem. So, no, thank you. Thank you very much indeed for those words. Deborah, again, from your perspective as a psychologist and a grandparent, what does shared care look like within a family when it's being done well?
Cool. I think when everybody is being thought about.
Okay.
So a lot of the time, it's the person with diabetes that needs the support. That's not true, because diabetes isn't the property of one person. If diabetes knocks on the door with its suitcase and says, I'm moving in, it takes over the whole house. It drops stuff in the kitchen, it puts stuff in the lounge, it's up in every bedroom. It affects the brothers and its sisters and aunties and uncles and grandmas. It's everybody. So good shared care emotionally is when everybody is thought about. What is the mum, how is mum managing? How is dad managing? How are partners managing? How is everybody living with this nuisance that has decided just to move into your life and wreak havoc, or attempt to wreak havoc? Because as we've heard, it doesn't always. It tries its best to play tricks. It tries its best to get in between us and to cause fights and arguments and spoil relationships. But actually, if we're thinking about everybody in the system, it doesn't.
You see, I've never considered that enough, I don't think, that how much it impacts everybody
Everyone.
within a family system, and also your friendship groups as well, surely. Does that make sense?
Yeah, I mean, the first thing I'd say is I think parents, especially with, you know, young people being diagnosed with type 1 diabetes, the parent almost becomes a living pancreas because they're
it's like
constantly on there.
Matt on the VT is a
Yeah.
great example of that.
Great example. So, like, I take my hat off to all parents. Yeah, I think in general, living with type 1 diabetes is going to affect relationships to a point, because no matter sometimes how much you explain type 1 diabetes to people, even if they are good friends, you know, it's not their fault, but they perhaps don't really realise that you have to make so many extra decisions or choices and stuff, which may make you late for things, which may make you, I don't know, you might have a hypo and it's a really frustrating point of time of the day, or during a conversation and you have a hypo, and
Yes.
do you know what I mean? It can affect it in those.
So
little ways.
and do you find that people understand, or do you ever find that people actually don't get that, or they get short-tempered with you?
It's very hard though, because how we manage our diabetes is complicated, because we will have to manage our whole well-being about how we deal with it. So like if I was to tell you about last week and my diabetes, you'd be like, really? And you went into work?
So what give me an insight into this.
But it can be like last week, Johnny, you had 3 hypos one night, but I also had 3 at different times of the night. So you get no sleep, and then you have tech failures, and then you go in and your pod fails and you haven't brought a pod, and you need to stay until 4 o'clock, but don't actually think you can last until 4 o'clock, so you stay until 2 and then go. But it's just when you tell that to your friendship groups, they over worry, and they keep checking in on you, and you've already left that in last week, and you're on to a new week.
But Anna, the other reason it's difficult to explain is because when you've met one person with diabetes, you met one person with diabetes.
Exactly.
Okay.
It's not the same for everybody.
No, it's not.
And however many books you read about it, and however much you understand the theory and the principle and the physics and the principles behind it, every single person has a different experience, and that's what's tricky. So that's why you get stigmatizing comments from people.
Sorry, really quick. And also, people live with other conditions.
Yes.
Somebody might have type 1 diabetes and live with a mental health condition or another physical health condition,
Of course.
which all affect.
Of course. I mean, it just
Quite
to your point that
complicated,
everybody's an
Everybody's
individual.
individual.
But then for somebody like me, who perhaps in the future, if I were to be involved with somebody that had type 1 diabetes, how should I approach that? How should one approach it if you have a friend or a partner with type 1?
Well, you learn about it, and then you ask questions.
Right.
You can be curious and ask and say, help me understand. And I would always say that the trick is to say, help me understand how I can help you, rather than me saying, oh, I know all about diabetes, I read about it. I know, oh, should you be eating that bit of cake, Mary? So,
And we'll have different challenges at different times
that's
too.
the other
so
thing.
it's
Yeah.
like,
Yeah.
and when we go to like to see our consultants, like a nice question to be asked is what are you finding difficult in the last number of weeks, months? Because it could be different than how it was at a previous appointment, and it could be a parent being ill, or it could be another child being ill or having another condition, or so, yeah.
And can you talk to me about, just briefly, any tools or apps that have helped you guys stay connected without always needing to be on?
Yes, I've got an example which happened yesterday, actually.
Oh, yeah.
This doesn't happen very often at all, but it happened yesterday. I didn't realise I had only 1 unit of insulin left in my pen, and I set it for the day, and I was out at 6:30. I had to drive 2.5 hours for work, and I got there and realised I only had 1 unit of insulin, which is very, obviously is going to be challenging because I'm 2.5 hours away from home. But I'm wearing the Freestyle Libre 2 Plus and using the Freestyle Libre Link app. you know, I was able to be stress-free because I could monitor my glucose levels, you know, and it's just amazing to have that technology to sort of manage that mental battle, I guess.
So that consistent monitoring that you were able to do through the app let you know that actually I'm okay, I can manage this.
Yeah, and just made sure I was okay all day, and I was quite stress-free actually.
Excellent.
Where usually it would be quite
Excellent.
stressful.
Anybody else?
So yeah, we use like we share, like Johnny shares his glucose levels with me, but we also use Life 360 too, which is amazing because I can see like the battery level on his phone. I can and because I can see his glucose levels, and he does talk back to me, so it's okay. Like there's that two-way, and I can see where he is geographically as well, and like say if he misses the bus, traveling on the bus can be a bit tricky as children grow older, and it was really helpful as a tool starting into school and getting the school bus, because it helped me know that I could see his glucose levels. I could see he was nearly home as well, like, and they were just simple little things that all kind of connected to the deck.
Oh, thank you very much indeed. Well, listen, let's go back to Matt one last time, where he tells us how they've made care something that's shared. It's a brilliant example of how the right support in the background can make independence feel possible.
So Emmy's doing lots of activities as well out of school, so that means that there's other carers, I suppose, who look after Emmy. So one of the big things she does at the moment is cheerleading, and at cheerleading, when she goes to competitions, that means sometimes we have to kind of hand her over to the people that train her. Could be for hours. So when you're at school or at your clubs without mummy and daddy, how do the people looking after you get on?
Actually, my coaches come down to get me for a sweet, or I go up to them and say I'm low, and they check with my mum first.
So ultimately we've done the training with them as well. They know what to do, because we're always in the same venue and only a few minutes away if needed. They know that if she's low, they can give her a hypo treatment. They know how to input that into her system that she's using. She's got the Freestyle Libre 3 sensor on. You'll be able to see all the time what her levels are. And because she's using closed loop with the My Life loop, if she's going to be going low, she should never go to a low level where it's unmanageable by them. It would just be, yes, she's low, and you can give her usually just a sweet or a small snack to bring her back into range. Since we've been using My Life Loop, we've definitely started to be, over time, be more dependent on the system, and definitely stepping back and not interfering.
Well, what really stands out is that shared care doesn't mean doing less, it means doing it together with trust, boundaries and the right kind of connection. And when that happens, the load feels lighter, not just for the person living with diabetes, but for everybody around them too. We have covered so much already. The time has really flown, but now it's time to hear from you. So thank you to everybody who's been sending in questions throughout the event. We really appreciate it. We've picked out a few that reflect the themes that we have talked about tonight. So for panellists, all the panellists, do the panellists not have the support from a local specialist diabetes team? Or is this just symptomatic of the unevenness of diabetes support across the whole of the UK? I can ring my local team at any time, and they have access to my Libre data. Gang.
So what we're based in Northern Ireland, and you can phone into your team during office hours, but
well, that's not much help if something goes wrong at night.
It's not actually, like, and I'm a data analyst, and I'm part of a peer support group, and what we found within our peer support group and looking at the WhatsApp data is that people need help at 9 o'clock at night.
Yeah.
Like, and a Friday, Saturday, Sunday. And it's just those kind of questions like I'm not sure of, or or it's 11 o'clock at night when you're going to bed, where like you're under the duvet and you pop you can't phone your DSN then or your PDSN then. So, but you can phone during office hours for things that you need, and within peer support you're pointed to do that, like about medical issues and things, but otherwise having peer support is really helpful.
So peer support really crucial, because as you say, you need help 24/7. I mean, does this make sense to you as well, Deborah?
And it is different throughout the country. Some hospitals will have 24-hour lines, but even a 24-hour line doesn't guarantee you to get through to a member of a specialist diabetes team. You might get through to a more junior doctor who's doing the late shift. And also I think it comes back to that thing I said at the beginning, that kind of, you know your diabetes better than anybody else. The real experts here tonight are Duke and Mary and Johnny. They're the experts because they're the experts in their diabetes. So somebody sitting at the end of a telephone who knows all about diabetes is great, but you know it, and it's frustrating. And so, you know.
So what's the answer? What do we think needs to happen then in terms of further support?
I think it's connecting people. Like it's like we're talking about sharing, connecting people that understand and live their lives. Because the things that I find frustrating and challenging are the things that aren't actually diabetes related. They're not medical things. They're how do you do this to do this, and it's by listening to other people then that helps me think about me and think about them and bring it together, and then do an N=1.
And sharing lived experience, and having the opportunity. So peer groups for young people. So a lot of diabetes teams run things like Tree of Life groups or diabetes peer groups. Now some kids don't like them, some kids won't go to them, but those that do go to them often really, really enjoy them. And what they always say is that it makes them realise that they're not alone, and that everybody struggles. But actually, if you're a group of adolescents, you realise it's not the diabetes that drives you crazy, it's your mother that drives you crazy. You know, and actually diabetes, again, going back to what I said, diabetes is just one tiny little
piece of who you are.
Yeah.
Exactly. Thank you. I'm just going to jump in because we have a question for Johnny. Johnny, how do you play football and not have constant hypos? Do you have any tips?
Lots of planning.
Lots of planning. So what do you mean by that?
You have to be prepared. I know I have football training on a Monday and a Wednesday, and I know that it starts at 7 o'clock. And I need to be on time. I need to get my dinner before then. I need to take less insulin for my dinner so that my levels aren't as low when I'm starting to train. And I also need to make sure that if I start to feel low, that I have something with me so that I'm able to correct that as soon as I feel it, because that helps me get back onto the pitch quicker, and it makes me feel better. And it makes me more confident as well.
So again, it's planning for what you want to be doing in life, bringing the joy and the normality into life, but just making sure that you've planned for that.
Yeah.
Basically, brilliant. Thank you for that, Johnny. Okay, we have another one for Deborah. Do you think a psychologist could be helpful for a newly diagnosed 8-year-old? She had severe DKA, and I worry about the emotional impacts on her, which may come later. This is interesting.
I'm really sorry that you're having to go through this at the moment. Let me just say that to whoever's just asked this question. It's so worrying, and actually, I worry about you as mum and dad more than I worry about her, because at 8, you're going to do everything for her. You're going to make all these decisions for her, and you're going to make sure that she has the most joy any 8-year-old can have. And so it's you that need to look after yourself more than her at the moment. I think the challenges for her are going to be when she gets to be a teenager.
Oh.
Really sorry, Johnny, but that's when it gets tricky.
So just help us out a little bit in terms of for that questioner there. What kinds of things can they be doing to
So
support
I think
themselves?
lots of nice. I mean, use your diabetes team. That's what I would always say. Use your diabetes team. The nurses will have nice conversation toolkits. Games that you can play. There are lots of the charities, the children's diabetes charities, have kind of like really nice animals and things like that can show you how to, what diabetes is all about. Understanding is important, and helping her know that there's nothing wrong with her. There's nothing wrong with her. She's just got diabetes, and this is going to make her a bit special.
And what could they be doing for themselves as adults and as parents? Because you said, actually, I know this is going to have more of an impact on you in a way than your 8-year-old.
Make connections, I would say. Make connections. If you can, use your in-laws, use your parents. That's so important.
Can I add as well, like, so when your child is diagnosed, it's just like walking out of hospital with a newborn baby.
Yes.
Only you don't know how to look after it. Nobody else around you does. Nobody else knows how to help you. But it's just the same, and ask for those kind of help.
Yes.
That kind of help from your in-laws, from those people around you. Like when you had a newborn baby, people brought you dinner. They helped you do washing. They took other children out to play, those kind of things. And that was those kind of things are so helpful. They're small helps that you need. Picking up from school when you can't, when something goes wrong, or just to even get a bit of sleep sometimes, because you're still trying to learn how to do things.
And there will be people who don't have a lot of close family or stuff like that, but just if you look after yourself as parents and you recognise that this is a shock and that you're going to go through and experience grief, but that if you can keep showing your 8-year-old that they can still do pretty much anything they want to do, and you can do all the planning for them.
Yes.
Can I just add to that really quick? Sorry.
Yeah.
I think, the power of community is extremely important in anything we do. But when people, even such as 8 years old, meet another 8-year-old or meets another 8-year-old with type 1 diabetes, like they feel less alone. So I do think connecting with other people living with type 1 diabetes is important.
Exactly.
And the power of creativity.
Yes,
Write about how you feel. An 8-year-old,
write some poems.
An 8-year-old can still, write how they feel, through poetry or even paint something. The power of creativity is really, it's
and
amazing.
also, what's lovely about what you're all saying is that here we are connecting with you guys as well as a huge community where we're being able to share. So, we're now living exactly what you're talking about, which is connecting with other people. So thank you for that point. I think we've probably got time for one more question. For Mary, does Johnny follow you on the app also, so that you're actually supporting each other?
This is a really interesting question.
Here we go. Strap in, everyone. Come on.
So he doesn't yet, but he's offered to now, and it's a lovely thing that we were talking about this, like coming and what we were going to talk about, and we were talking about sharing technology and why it's good either way. And Johnny, you said we asked about your daddy and if he would follow me, and I said, well, he can't really do anything, and it'd just worry him. Whereas, it would be helpful if Johnny saw my glucose levels. It would help him and help me, and I would feel a little bit safer. And so, we are going to share now.
Is that what's going to happen?
Yeah.
Yay.
I think it's beautiful that you both support each other.
Yeah,
it's amazing.
We're so lucky, unlucky and lucky. But
Yeah, I understand what it is you're saying, but actually ultimately how amazing that you are lucky that you are part of the same family, mother and son, you love each other and you're there to support each other.
You can find joy in everything.
Brilliantly put. And on that note, that is all we have time for tonight. A huge thank you to the whole of our brilliant panel. We, of course, have Mary Murphy, we have Johnny Murphy, happy birthday again, we have Duke Al and Professor Deborah, Christie, and Matt and Emmy too, who you saw in the video there. And thank you to all of you at home for joining us, sharing your questions and being part of such an open and empowering community. Thank you very much indeed.